News to hear that it was approved. Do you want to take a few questions, Ron? We'll take a few questions from these. Yeah, please, go ahead. Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. President. Given the likelihood of the One Big Beautiful Bill passing, and we look forward to the success of this facility here, how many more facilities like this do you feel that the country needs in order to enact your agenda of mass deportations?
Well, I think we'd like to see them in many states, really, many states. This one, I know Ron's doing a second one, at least a second one, and probably a couple of more. And you know, at some point they might morph into a system where you're going to keep it for a long time. You know, it's not that far away from jails that take years to build, and money is spent and wasted, and you know, like the railway that they have in California that costs like 40 times more than it was supposed to cost. The same things happens with prisons. You look at this in a short period of time. Ron, James, and some of the people that really worked on it along with our people, they did this in less than a week. And you look at it, it's incredible. The incredible thing is picking the site, because the site was one of the most natural sites. It might be as good as the real Alcatraz site. You know, it could be. Well, that's a spooky one too, isn't it? That's a tough site. But so I think it could last as long as they want to have it. I mean, you may morph this into, you know, your prison system, frankly, which I know you always need, unfortunately. I'd like to say, you know, a little controversial, but I couldn't care less. We have a lot of bad criminals that came into this country, and they came in stupidly. It was an unforced error. It was an incompetent president that allowed it to happen. It was an auto pen maybe that allowed it to happen, and it did happen. But we also have a lot of bad people that have been here for a long time, people that whack people over the head with a baseball bat from behind when they're not looking and kill them, people that knife you when you're walking down the street. They're not new to our country. They're old to our country. Many of them were born in our country. I think we ought to get them the hell out of here too. You want to know the truth. So maybe that'll be the next job that we'll work on together. But I think getting them out, you know, we forget about them. We had some bad accidents in New York, and they're not accidents. They were done very much on purpose. People being pushed into a subway just before it arrives, going 40 miles an hour, and they're 10 feet away from where the thing is, to get pushed right into the face of the subway train, get whacked and killed. And these are sick people. I'd like to get them out of here too. Yeah, please, go ahead. White shirt, glasses.
Julio Rosas, Blaze Media, sir. A couple months ago, I ran into former DHS Secretary Mayorkas, and I asked him a couple questions about his disastrous handling of the border. He didn't like my questions. But the number one question that I heard from people in responding to my video was, why hasn't he been arrested yet? You know, obviously, you guys are cleaning up the mess that was made deliberately for the past 4 years, and so people want accountability. It's great to see that the border is secured, and it's great to see the state level cooperation. But I guess I would ask you, why hasn't he been held accountable, or anybody really?
Well, you know, pardons were given out by to many people, and they shouldn't have been given out. Like the Unselect Committee of Political Thugs was given a pardon because they destroyed all of the information from 2 years of hearings, and they should be arrested, but they were given pardons. Was he given a pardon, Mayorkas? Was he not?
I don't believe so.
Well,
sir.
I'd take a look at that one, because what he did is it's beyond incompetence. Something had to be done. Now, with that being said, he took orders from other people, and he was really doing the orders. And you could say he was very loyal to them, because it must have been very hard for him to stand up and sit up and, you know, talk about what he allowed to happen to this country and be serious about it. So he was given orders. If he wasn't given a pardon, I could see looking at that. In fact, why don't you take a look at it, Kristen? He was impeached, but yeah, it was just a fake impeachment. It was a fake impeachment. Why don't you take a look at it? I think he was so bad. They were all so bad. Look, it was the worst president in the history of our country. We've had some bad ones, but he was the worst president. But somebody told Mayorkas to do that, and he followed orders, but that doesn't necessarily hold him harmless. So take a look at it. It's a very good question, actually. Thank you. Yeah, please. Go ahead.
Mr. President, you and the Secretary have both said that many people have self-deported since you came back into office. Yeah. How many is many, and has the rate gone up? How do you see the tempo of that moving forward going on?
We have had several 100,000, but also we have many that have self-deported, not even using the CBP Home app. When I have gone to these other countries to negotiate security agreements and information sharing on criminals, who's coming and going into their countries, they report that hundreds of thousands have come home that weren't on our radar, that they are coming home on their own and self-deporting because they want the chance to be able to go back to America someday. So we believe it's over 1 million, possibly more than that. I'm asking all of those countries for their information on what they have of individuals that may have returned home, that they have taking advantage of their programs to help them become a part of their civilization again too. So we know it's over 1 million, but we have to, I'm getting more information and that number will grow.
If they don't leave, they never get the chance to come back. If we have to take them out, and we will, they'll go out, but they never get a chance to come back. The other way, we actually make it a little bit easier for them to come back. Okay? Thank you. Good question. Thank you.
The bill is now passed in the Senate, but we are already hearing from some Republicans in the House who say they cannot get on board with the changes that were made to the bill in the Senate. What is your message to those holdouts?
Well, I just heard that about the Senate, and the bill just passed, and it tells you there's something for everyone. I mean, it's a great bill. There is something for everyone, and I think it's going to go very nicely in the House. Actually, I think it will be easier in the House than it was in the Senate.
And just to be clear, on the Medicaid cuts, you've promised not to cut Medicaid, said this is all just targeting waste, fraud, and abuse. Are you saying that the estimated 11.8 million people who could lose their health coverage, that is all waste, fraud, and abuse?
No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying it's going to be a very much smaller number than that, and that number will be waste, fraud, and abuse. And if you look, they took a much more liberal stance on the Medicaid situation than they could have. They had a tough stance and a weak stance. They took not a very strong stance on that to start off, and it's waste, fraud, and abuse, and everybody wants that covered.
What number is that? What analysis are you seeing?
I'm not seeing a number, but I know it's much less than the number you gave, and we really were very, very cognizant of three things. Social Security, we're going to take care of it beautifully. Medicare and Medicaid, and we are going to save it, whereas the Democrats are going to, you won't have it. They will destroy Medicare and Medicaid, and they have to because their numbers don't work. So it's not going to happen. They're the ones that have destroyed Medicare. They have made it so bad already, they're going to make it a lot worse. But now we'll be in charge, so we're going to have no problem with Medicaid or Medicare or Social Security. Thank you.
Mr. President.
Yeah.
Hi, Mr. President. Claire Gall with Wink News in Fort Myers. What is your direction to ICE when it comes to arresting farm workers here illegally, other workers in industries that are pretty critical to Florida's economy?
Yeah. Well, we're very much cognizant of that, and as you know, I won the farmers by 92%, and I'm not going to be abandoning my farmers. We were strong on the borders, but we're also strong for the farmers and for others in the hotel industry, et cetera. You know, we have similar situations, and Christy and I, and we'll be working with Ron and a lot of the states. We're going to work something where the farmers can be responsible for some of the people they have in. They have people around for 10, 15 years that they know very well. We're going to put them responsible and we're going to issue a form of a card or document, and the farmer's going to be responsible for these people. They're not going to have citizenship, but they'll be working, they'll be paying taxes. We need to get our farmers the people they need, otherwise our farmers aren't going to be able to do their land. You know, it was tried once before, many, many years ago, where there was a very strong guy, and he got everybody out, and every farm almost in the country, but every farm in California, every farm in Iowa, almost all the farms went bankrupt. They had nobody to work, and we don't want to have that situation. So we're going to work it. We're going to put our farmers and others in charge of the people that they have under them. They know the people, and I think it's going to work out really well. We're going to take care of our farmer, but we're going to get the criminals out. Okay? Yeah, go ahead, please.
Thank you. Mr. President, how do you respond to critics who fear that a 3,000-bed detention center and the waste that could produce will pollute the surrounding federal protected land, including land that both administrations have invested billions of dollars in restoring?
Well, I was one of those that invested billions of dollars and hundreds of millions of dollars right here in the Meadowlands, but in the Everglades, and the Meadowlands too in New York. If you look at what we did up there, speaking of the Meadowlands, a lot of places like this, but this is a very unique one. One thing I'll say about this land, we'll be gone 1 million years and this land is still going to be here. It's not going to be much different. You'll have the water moccasins You'll have the alligators. You may not have people, but you're going to have all those animals. They're going to be around, and you got plenty of them out here. I think it was a brilliant choice, and I think almost anybody in his or her right mind would say this was a brilliant choice. I give the governor a lot of credit for using this piece of land. And in addition to that, it's on top of something that was already developed. It's an airport. You know, you have the runways, you have so it's already been developed. So it's not like you're dropping dirt right into the thing. There was zero movement of that. That was done many years ago because the airport's very old, but it was an abandoned airport. And frankly, it's like perfect. And you can do expansion on this site substantially without doing anything. So the people, I heard them complaining about the Everglades. There's no, I don't think you've done anything to the Everglades. I think you're just enhancing it. This was already here. How long has the airport been here?
Decades.
Many decades, yeah.
And they have, Kevin, all these guys, you know, have a waste plan, like the wastewater gets trucked out, potable water gets, literally, they have, even our DOT has put things up in case there's any seepage, which we don't. So you are literally doing this on concrete that's already here. So I don't think those are valid and even good faith criticisms, because it's not going to impact the Everglades at all. President's been a champion, we've been a champion, really changed the game in Florida on it. I think it's just people don't want to see illegal immigrants deported, and that's their ideology, and they have a right to that. But illegal immigration's unpopular, so they know that they're going to have less effect trying to do it. So they're going to try, oh, well, no, it's just about the Everglades. But really, I think a lot of those people, they just don't want to see illegals deported. Because if you actually hear everyone's here, you obviously know there's zero land that's being disturbed.
Well, you know, when we talk about popularity, though, I will say I ran on the issue of illegals, and we have to get them out. And I won 82% on that issue. So I think that they may not like certain aspects of it, but ultimately they do not want them in their country. And if this is a part of a use, but I think from an environmental standpoint, it's incredible. In fact, when we landed that very big, heavy plane today, they came out and checked it fairly. You know, I think they want the president to be able to land on a piece of concrete that's not going to go 6 feet underground. And they checked it. They came back and they said, this thing is really solid. So it's been there a long time. It's going to be here a long time, and it was a great choice of a site. Thank you. Yes, please. Brian, go ahead.
Yes, sir. The people of Syria were recently seen on the streets waving American flags, chanting Trump, Trump, Trump. They're so appreciative of the economic sanctions that was lifted on that country, giving them a little bit of hope for prosperity. You want to comment on that?
Well, they're great people, and the man that is leading them has a reputation. You know, he's the head of some pretty tough organizations, and a lot of people criticized me for that. I said, well, what are we going to do, take him out of a day school, a country day school? It's going to be, by nature, I would think, Ron, they'll be pretty tough, and he is pretty tough, but I met him, spent a lot of time with him, good guy. I took off the sanctions because if I didn't do that, they wouldn't have had a chance. And Syria has a chance. You know, the people are great. They work hard. They're very smart. It used to be a place of professionals, accountants and lawyers and doctors and high academic credentials in that part of the world. And I think it's going to work out great. I took off the sanctions, and they were very appreciative. They were shocked, but they were very appreciative. We're giving them a chance at survival. With the sanctions, it couldn't have worked. Thank you.
Mr. President, your beloved New York City may well be led by a communist soon, Zorhan Mandami, who in his nomination speech said he will defy ICE and will not allow ICE to arrest criminal aliens in New York City. Your message to communist Zorhan Mandami.
Well, then we'll have to arrest him. Look, we don't need a communist in this country, but if we have one, I'm going to be watching over him very carefully on behalf of the nation. We send him money. We send him all the things that he needs to run a government. And by the way, they get about 3 times what you get, Ron. If you look at the per capita, Florida gets 1/3 of what New York gets in terms of the numbers. Why don't you give us those numbers?
Yeah, well,
because that's what we should send him.
Yeah, well, like sometimes people say Florida gets more because they count Social Security recipients, but that's not money to the state. Those are seniors that live here. If they moved to North Carolina, you could count it there. So it has no interaction with the state government. They get more in the city and state governments than we get.
Right, substantially. We're going to be watching that very carefully, and a lot of people are saying he's here illegally. We're going to look at everything, and ideally, he's going to turn out to be much less than a communist. But right now, he's a communist. That's not a socialist. I've always said we will not have socialism in this country. In the speeches, I said, well, what? They skipped socialism, and you got a lot of them like that. And you see AOC, she's out there with her, bad IQ. She's out there ranting and raving about how wonderful he is. And look, so far he's winning. He still has a race to win, but so far he's winning, and he has an advantage as a Democrat in New York City. I was there a long time ago, and it was a long time since a Republican won the city. But you would think that a Republican would be able to win. Or you have a good independent running, Mayor Adams, who's a very good person. I helped him out a little bit. He had a problem, and he was unfairly hurt over this question. He made a statement to the effect that this is terrible. New York City can't have all these immigrants come in. And like he was indicted the following day. And I said, that was a phony indictment. And it was a phony indictment. That was a Biden indictment. I said, don't feel bad. I got indicted 5 times every time you opened your mouth. That was a bad group. That was a very dangerous group, I will tell you. These were not nice people. That was the only thing they could do. They had no policy. They had no skill. They had no anything. But they were very good at that. They were vicious, vicious, horrible people. Thank you very much. Yeah, please, go ahead.
Anna Giratelli with Washington Examiner. Governor DeSantis has proposed using National Guard, deputizing them as immigration judges to get through this massive backlog of people in the immigration court. Would you be open to that?
Yes, he has my approval. Okay. That wasn't too hard to get, was it, Ron? He didn't even have to ask me, James. You didn't even need James to ask me. He has my approval, okay? Good. I also like what he's doing in Okeechobee. He has my approval for that, too. I don't know how we work that out, but we'll work it out.
We'll follow up.
Go ahead. Please.
President Trump, Jake Stofan with Action News Jax from up in Jacksonville. There's some talk about a facility similar to this up in Camp Blanding. Has that been approved by DHS? If not, what's the timeline? When could we see ground break on that?
Well, I'll ask Ron or James to talk about it. Do you want to mention it, James?
The overarching plan, I think the secretary has said she supports the whole plan, so you guys are going to keep going. Yeah.
So, Mr. President, just specifically, the response for proposals is out for that today. It closes, I can't even remember what day of the week it is, but it closes on Wednesday at 5 o'clock. Then we will do notice to proceed. So I would say right after our wonderful Independence Day, we will be starting construction there at that facility.
You're going to have another big runway there, too.
That's great. Wow. Boy, I love these runways. It's very convenient, I must say. Having a runway is a nice thing. Today, you don't get runways approved. I will tell you, it's tough to get a runway. Although in the age of Trump, you get them approved fast. We're approving massive electrical bins, what they call them bins, but big electrical facilities for all of the factories and the AI that's coming in. They're going to build their own electric. They're going to be really. They're going to be made into electrical providers. They're going to have a lot left over. They'll put it into the grid. I think, they're going to end up doing so much. They'll put it into the grid. Won't even cost anything from their standpoint. So we have a lot of that happening. We get approvals fast. But I was just saying, runways are hard to get, but we'll get them now. But in the past, I would say over the past 30, 40 years, when you can get a runway, that was considered gold. Okay, please, go ahead. Go ahead. Sure. Okay, go ahead. Yes.
President Trump, Laverne McGee, News 6, Orlando. You have fulfilled several campaign promises, along with the help of Governor Ron DeSantis. What is the next campaign promise that you plan to fulfill to the American people?
So, we have turned this country around in less than 6 months. And when I was away, and I was telling Ron, I was telling some others, I've said it a little publicly, I guess, but I met a lot of very important people. The King of Saudi Arabia, I was there 2 weeks ago, and Qatar, the leader of Qatar, who's great, and the leader of UAE, who's great. These are very substantial people, very smart people, and good people. And all three of them said essentially the same thing, along with many other people, because I just left NATO. NATO's we took it up to 5%. Nobody can believe that one run. That would be hard, but nobody believes that. What happened in NATO, over $1 trillion a year from like nothing. It was an honor. But every leader said that a year ago, this country was dead. They had no confidence in the United. They really felt it was a dead country, and it was some bad things were going to happen. But they used the term, it was a dead country, and now they said you have the hottest country anywhere in the world. We're the hottest country in the world right now. And we turned it around fast. I thought it would take longer than this. We turned it around fast. Some of it was psychology, and we had to know how good we were. But others was getting rid of rules, regulations, and all of the things that I got rid of already. I signed more executive orders than anybody in history, times like 3 or 4. And I got rid of just one. I got rid of the other night. You buy a house, they have a faucet in the house, Joe, and the faucet, the water doesn't come out. They have a restrictor. You can't, in areas where you have so much water, they don't know what to do with it. You have a shower head, the shower doesn't, you think it's not working. It is working. The water's dripping out. And that's no good for me. I like this hair nice and, I like that hair nice and wet. You have to stand in the shower for 20 minutes before you get the soap out of your hair. And I put a thing in, and it sounds funny, but it's really not. It's horrible. And when you wash your hands, you turn on the faucet, no water comes out. You're washing, the water barely comes out. So this was done by crazy people. And I wrote it all off and got it approved in Congress so that they can't just change it, because I did it in my first term. Everyone was so happy. And then one of the first things that Biden did when he came back is he put the restriction on showers, toilets, and sinks. Put this restriction, and washing machines. Washing machine, they give you like a quarter of this bottle to do your clothing. And people needed 10 of these bottles. And the people came to me from Whirlpool, and they said, we can't make a machine that's competitive. We can't make a machine anymore. It doesn't work. Why? They don't let us use water. Do you have any problems with water? No, we have so much we don't know what to do with it. You know, it comes down from heaven, right? And I approved all of that, the washing machines, the whole thing. The dishwashers, that was the other one. They give you like this much water right up to there to do your dishes. So people, you know what they do? They keep pressing the button. So they end up doing the dishes 10 times. They end up using more water than you would have used if you did it right in the first place. So all of that stuff has been written off. It sounds crazy. It's little things. The straw, I let you go back to a plastic straw. I was tired of having straws melt in my mouth, you know? It wasn't working. The paper wasn't working too well. So these are little things that I did. Then we have the big things. We have the biggest things, and that has to do with some of the subjects we're talking now. I think the things we're talking about now are the biggest, because if you don't have borders in this country, borders and good elections, and we're working on that next. There's some bills coming in that's going to make sure that you're a citizen, that people aren't counted in the voting when, you know, they were here and they're here as illegals and they're criminals in many cases, and they give them a count. And you end up with extra congressmen. We're going to work on that. We're going to straighten that out next. That's going to be easy compared to what we were doing. But we did the big things, too. But little things like that, a straw, little things like a washing machine with no water. People go out, they spend all their money on a washing machine. The damn thing doesn't work. You can't use the water. Then you go to your sink, and that doesn't work either. You're stuck. You know what you do? You have dirty plates the next day. That's it. And we solved so many common sense problems. And they weren't easy, you know. There are people that really believe in this stuff. But, you know, most states have so much water, they don't know what to do with it. And look at North Carolina. I mean, they had a lot of water, and they have to get restrictors on their, you know, on their kitchen faucets. So we're very proud of the things we did, and we're going to do a lot more of them. Yeah, please, go ahead. You guys in good shape.
Hey, it's Eric Bowling. How you doing, sir? Something we've talked about for, I'd say, better part of 20 years. I think it's something near and dear to your heart, energy, our energy security.
Yeah.
Under Joe Biden, average price of oil for the 4 years was about $79 a barrel. He drained the SPR halfway down, promised to replenish it, never did.
That's right.
Under you, first term, $53 average price for 4 years. Biden was $78 for 8 years. It was never refilled. The question is now it's $64 or so.
Yeah.
What
coming down rapidly.
Coming down, and what a great opportunity to fix another one of Joe Biden's problems, one of the things he broke in America, giving us the energy security of an emergency SPR,
Sure.
fill it to, maybe even go beyond and fill it to 1 billion barrels this time at a much cheaper price. Thoughts on the energy sector?
So it holds 77 million barrels, and we had it up to the top, if you remember. And I was proud of that, and I made a deal to buy it at the lowest price of oil. It was a good deal, good instinct. And we filled it up, and when he came in, he started using it to keep oil prices down because he blew our energy policy out. Energy and his bad spending is what caused inflation. So now we have no inflation. Gasoline just hit $1.99 today in 5 states. $1.99, isn't that a nice sound? It was up to $4, and going up to $5, $6, and $7. In California, it was $7.70. But we just hit in five states $1.99, $1.98. And it's coming down to that level, so that'll be a big thing. And one of the reasons the prices and costs are going down when you go to the supermarket, because I said I was going to get costs down. We're getting the cost down. Food is coming down. When I came out, my first week, if you remember, I had a lunatic reporter screaming at me saying, eggs are going through the roof. What are you going to do about eggs? I said, I just got here. I didn't know anything about eggs. I had to call you. I said, look, I just got here. Tell me the problem. Well, they're doubled in price, and they're going to be 5 or 6 times higher. They were right, actually. I said, let me work on it. And now we have eggs down to the same numbers it was when I first came in. You know, we lowered the cost of groceries. A simple word like that, groceries, it was like almost a strange word. I hadn't heard the word in so long, but what could be more beautiful than the word grocery? And we have the prices way down. We have the energy way down. Energy brought the groceries down, if you want to know the truth. And, you know, so we think we're going to get it lower, and we're going to fill up the it's called the Strategic National Reserves. I had it topped out, and this guy would use them every time before the election. He'd use them whenever they had an election. It was artificial. But believe it or not, as big as that are tens of hundreds of millions of barrels of oil, all filled up at low prices. But it was really meant for wars, and it wasn't meant for keeping your prices down during a holiday so that somebody could get elected. But they used it, and they didn't bring it. The only mistake you made, they didn't bring it a little down. They brought it right down to the bottom. The thing is practically empty. They never filled it up. They never spent 10 cents in filling it up. And we'll do that. When the market is right, we'll fill it up. I want to fill it up when the market's right. Thank you. How about one more question? Okay, please, in the back.
Dana Marie McNichol, Fox News Channel. Mr. President, is there an expected time frame that detainees will spend here, days, weeks, months? And does that have anything to do with the immigration judges you just spoke about being trained and staffed here?
When you say, what was the first part of your question?
Is there a specific time frame you expect the detainees to spend here? Days, weeks, months?
In Florida?
Yes, here at Alligator Alcatraz.
I'm going to spend a lot. Look, this is my home state. I love it. I love your government. I love all the people around. These are all friends of mine. They know them very well. I mean, I'm not surprised that they do so well. They're great people. Ron has been a friend of mine for a long time. I feel very comfortable in the state. I'll spend a lot of time here. I want to, for 4 years, I've got to be in Washington, and I'm okay with it because I love the White House. I even fix up the little Oval Office. I make it, it's like a diamond. It's beautiful. It's so beautiful. It wasn't maintained properly, I will tell you that. But even when it wasn't, it was still the Oval Office, so it meant a lot. But I'll spend as much time as I can here. My vacation is generally here because it's convenient. I live in Palm Beach. It's my home. And I have a very nice little place, nice little cottage to stay at, right? But we have a lot of fun, and I'm a big contributor to Florida, pay a lot of tax. And a lot of people move from New York, and I don't know what New York is going to do. A lot of people moved to Florida from New York, and it was for a lot of reasons, but one of them was taxes. The taxes are so high in New York, they're leaving. I don't know what New York's going to do about that, because some of the biggest, wealthiest people and some of the people that pay the most taxes of any people anywhere in the world, for that matter, they're moving to Florida and other places. So we're going to have to help some of these states out, I think. But thank you very much. I'll be here as much as I can. Very nice question. With that, I'd like to just end by saying I want to thank Ron and James and all of the people that have done such a great job, all of your staff. Really fantastic work. And it really started with site selection. You can do a great job, but if you have the wrong site in real estate, you have the wrong site, you're dead. And this was a great site selection, despite what you may read in the environmental press. Good job. And this was an honor for Christy and myself and Steve and all of our people to be here. And I also appreciate the media. They've treated us very fairly. Over the last few weeks, I've been treated very nicely. And it's so unusual. I'm not used to it, but we've gotten great accolades. Brian, I want to thank you for calling out, because I was waiting here because I knew the vote was taking place and I'm answering questions, right? So I want to thank you very much and say hello to our friend. And I will see a lot of you. Thank you very much. We're going to make America great again. Thank you very much.